Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. This episode is full of symbolism. So I've got my dad's Kaywoodie Campus here because we're going to be talking about things that have to do with our school campuses. I've got a blended tobacco. This is important. It's a blend. It is Peterson Early Morning Pipe. And the fact that I've got the old Mustang hat going on. A car that was known for guys wanting to tinker with it and do things interesting and modifying it and making it their own. So, as always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. So what's with all the symbolism? Well, we need to talk AI. We need to talk artificial intelligence. Pretty much doesn't matter where you are in life in terms of age or walk of life. AI is everywhere. And it will affect you in one way or another, even if it is only affecting your children or your grandchildren, nieces and nephews in school. So indeed, it is something that affects our school campuses. All right. So there's the first one. First bit of symbolism here. AI stands for artificial intelligence, of course, and at this point it is really machine learning. It is algorithms. It is adaptive technology, right? You put in, number of times you start making a search on YouTube for pipe stuff, eventually you get more recommendations for pipe videos, right? Same thing for a search engine. You start putting in certain words and it starts to learn your habits, and so is able to make really more predictive searches, better searches maybe, for what you are wanting to find. As of now, no matter what anybody says, the technology is really not capable of thinking for itself. Now, there's a whole part of discussion of this that I don't think I'm going to get into today. I'm just going to say a brief bit about it and then move past it. Folks have been studying AI and philosophy of mind. This all goes into the same thing for decades. This is not new. Only the technology is new. But you think of there's the philosophers Paul and Patricia Churchland. One of my favorite guys. I think he got his PhD actually at Indiana University. He's an Australian. David Chalmers. You think of John Searle. People like this have been discussing this for many, many years now. There are those who would say that all that is going on up here is really no different from what's going on in your computer. All right? So you say, well, no. There's a difference, right? There's this algorithm that humans have put in, and humans have designed these programs and apps and so forth. And that programming takes certain inputs and then makes predictions and synthesizes and so forth. And you say, well, that's altogether different from what's happening up here. And other people will say, no, it's not. The only difference is the stuff, the material. This happens to be organic stuff, and the stuff in your computer or your phone is glass, it's metal, it's plastic, it's silicon. But in reality, there is no difference, right? So you have some inputs that have been put into your brain through experience, through reading, even if you wanted to go ahead and say through the Holy Spirit from God. Then comes along a situation. How do you deal with it? Well, you are simply taking the inputs that you already had and reorganizing them into a new response to a situation. People would say that's what's happening with art. You say, well, that's very creative. And the really strong AI people say, oh, actually, no, it's not. What you're doing is just as a computer can put a blob of red next to a blob of blue, next to a blob of green, and eventually create a piece of art based on some algorithm or some input that had already been brought to the program, to the computer, to create this design, to create this painting. And there are those who would say that's all that's happening in your brain as well. What's been put in there by art teachers and art that you have looked at and so forth, then you just take the colors as well and put a blob of blue next to a blob of green next to a blob of red. Like I say, I don't want to get into all of that in this episode. Whether there is a real difference between AI and this, that's not the purpose of this episode. I want to talk about the use of AI as it is commonly being used right now. And you think about things like Microsoft's Copilot, you think about ChatGPT, and other such things. To summarize, maybe you've got a buddy of mine, he works in IT, and he maybe he's got 100 emails that come through, all right? Microsoft Copilot can summarize those for him, say, here's the really big ideas that are coming out of here, here's emails you need to respond to right away, here's others that are not as important. Quite honestly, how's that any different from a secretary or an assistant in your business? Then maybe he was going to triage a whole bunch of files for you and say, okay, here, you need to look at this first, second, and third. These others can wait till Thursday. So in that regard, there's no difference. But we also are seeing it in terms of getting the AI to maybe say write some text. Whether it's text for a commercial, maybe you're trying to sell me some cereal, or maybe it's a student who's trying to write a paper for college or for high school. And as ever getting more sophisticated, the AI, and you can say, write me a paper that sounds like something that a 10th grader would write about the Great Gatsby. And you can put as many restrictions and parameters in your input there, and boom, it'll spit it back out a nice paper for you with references, even if you ask it for references. Teachers and professors can use it to grade, especially essays, which take a long time. So the question is, where does this all how does this all really fit? How does this all go together? And should we be against it entirely? Should we be embracing it entirely? Or, as I would suggest, does it need to be a mixture? Okay? A mixture. I think there's things that are perfectly fine for AI to handle. Like my friend was telling me, my buddy Sam, about it. Again, going through your emails, processing some emails, triaging that, that's fine. No problem with that. Like I say, we do that anyhow with a human assistant. I think in terms of crunching data, I think it's great for looking for patterns. Certainly I can see this in the hard sciences. I can see it in chemical and biological research, physics. I can see it in tremendous use in all of those areas. So I do think it has a place. Where I think it does not have a place, and why I think we don't want to just say rush to embrace it, or quite frankly mandate its use, especially in our schools, is anywhere there is human creativity that is desired, human opinion that is desired. And that's why I'm wearing my Mustang hat. Now listen, I don't modify cars. I've got a Mustang. I don't modify them. I don't know my way around under the hood. But the Mustang was pretty much made to be modified. When it first came out, mid-model year 1964, which is why it's called the 1964 and a half is the first Mustang. It was made to be modified. And people were immediately, putting in new engines, and they're doing stuff with the stereo, and they're doing stuff with the wheels, and just, you name it, they did it to the Mustang. And that's the human creativity. When one of my students asks me to be a mentor for his or her advanced paper at the school where I teach, we offer something called the International Baccalaureate Diploma, which is a very, very rigorous academic diploma. And one of the requirements is something called the extended essay. Students have to write a significant paper. It can be on any topic that interests them, but you have to find a faculty mentor to work with you on that. So I'll have students who will ask me and say, hey, I'm doing something that has to do with Roman history, has to do with Latin language, or maybe none of that. But they just say, hey, Mr. Perkins, we think it's a topic that you might know something about and would love to work with you. When a student asks me, Mr. Perkins, to be the mentor for that paper, that student is asking for my opinion. My opinion. Based on my reading, my experiences, my education, my thought. So if I were to take that paper and then go run it through some AI, asking for feedback, and then give that to my student, A, I think that's dishonest. B, I think it's flat out unethical. And C, it's not what my student asked for. My student could have done that. My student could have run it through AI. My student, look, whatever the parameters are that have been, say, plugged into, right, built into whatever AI program you're using, those parameters, that algorithm, that was set up by somebody else. So fundamentally, a paper run through that is getting that person's opinion. Fundamentally. That's not what my student asked for. My student asked for me to be the mentor. So there's a case where AI is not appropriate in the schools. Now again, that's what I'm saying. I think it's appropriate in some areas, which is why I'm mentioning the whole idea of the blend. I think it has its place some places, but not in others. And recently I was at a conference and someone was presenting, talking about the use of AI in the classroom. And the presenter said something that quite frankly nearly got me up out of my chair and had me running for the door. This person's at a university, and she was saying, as by way of illustration of the power of AI and what it can do for you. She said, and I'm quoting here, she said, "Who has time to read 100 peer review articles?" And then she paused because she was talking to a room full of high school, middle school, and elementary school teachers, and she said, "Well, I don't know if you have to, or if you publish, or you write articles and so forth. Let that one sink in for a moment. Who has time to read 100 peer-reviewed articles? Well, let me tell you, if you're the one who's writing a new article, if you're the one who is publishing some new research, then the answer had better be you. Asking AI to go through the research and summarize it for you, or whatever it was she did, and then write the article herself, a new article, publish a new piece of research, I'm sorry, I consider that academically dishonest. And you say, well, what's the difference with your buddy who has the AI summarize the emails? World of difference. Because in the new piece of research that this individual who was doing the presentation, this new piece of research that she would then be publishing, we have every right to assume that she is the one who has processed the 100 peer-reviewed articles and done all the other research and looked at the data and experiments or whatever it is that she needs to write her new piece, and the data has gone through her filter, through the filter of her experiences and her education and her unique human thought. So that one kind of got me fired up. So talk to us a little bit about AI. What do you think about it? What do you know about it? Is this something that you use at your business? Does your company use AI in any way? If so, how? Have you found it to be useful, productive? Have you found it in any way to undermine the work or undermine the human element in what you do? And what about your children or grandchildren, nieces or nephews? What do you know about AI in the schools these days? Be it the college campus or the high school campus or middle school or even elementary for that matter. What do you know about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the issue of artificial intelligence. Folks, as the eminently intelligent Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I like to say in Latin, Parva ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.
There was a man who walked the earth.